Okay, welcome everyone to Charts Free webinar series, and welcome John Isbell, who is presenting today on the ROI of formalized purpose and values. Welcome, John.
Hi, thanks. Thank you, Tara. A lot of you, as I look on the attendance list there, a lot of you know me, but for those who don't, I am John Isbell. I am a past chart president, former or present chart member, and I'm the vice president of learning and development for Portillos. Some past roles I've held as head of learning for Logan's Roadhouse, O'Charlie's, IHOP, Dynequity Brands, of course, is what it became. And the Improv Comedy Club. So I have some variety of experience in this, but this is always my home when I come back to Chart and I get a chance to talk to folks that I love and for an organization that I love. So for those of you unfamiliar with Chart, it is the greatest place to come to get your batteries recharged, to learn about this industry of learning in the hospitality industry itself. And honestly, there's no better place to be to get that kind of information. So if you've got comments, you got questions, I'm going to kind of keep this interactive. So sometimes I'm going to say, throw something in the chat. So make sure you throw that in there when you do. And I'm going to make sure that I can see everyone in the chat, and I can, and that's fantastic. So with that, if there's no questions or anything, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like we've got a good number of people starting to file in. So what are we going to talk about today? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So we're going to talk about what's the process, the rollout, how we rolled it out after we did the process. And even before we say what's the process, I want to talk a little bit about why we did what we did. We're going to talk about the integration, operationalizing it, to be able to use it, to be able to take this stuff. It's great to have a purpose and values, but if you can't put it into action, it really just does nothing for you. So we'll talk about some results that we've gotten, and then I'm going to open it up for questions and feedback. It's about a 45-minute session, give or take, with some time for questions. So I'm not going to keep you too long as we go through. So why purpose and values? When Michael Osanlu took over as our CEO, one of the first questions he asked is, where's the purpose and values? What are the purpose and values we have? And for those of you who don't know, Portillos is we're an old company. We started in 67 or 63 rather, and it's a company that was founded on the American dream. Dick Portillo took a hot dog stand. He took his last $1,100, sunk it into a hot dog stand, and created this Chicago icon empire that is now sprawling across the United States. And so he really is the American dream, and it's really cool. When it's an entrepreneur, he can make things happen, right? He can make things. Everything's based on his thoughts, his dreams, his aspirations, and what he believes the culture is, and it all kind of followed. The nice thing about once we've done all of this work is our current purpose and values really matches a lot of what Dick espoused as he grew this company. And so one of the things that's really cool, I don't know if you guys checked out the participants, but Michael Portillo, his son, is actually on this call today. And so always a huge proponent of learning and development, as he was my boss when I first came here. And so love having Michael here and love talking about his dad's story, because to me it is, on the occasions that I've had a chance to sit down with Dick, it's been, I feel like I'm meeting with like Dave Thomas from Wendy's or Colonel Sanders or something. Like, to me, it's that much of an icon, because he's literally grown this amazing company out of a hot dog stand. So it's pretty incredible. But when Michael took over as CEO, we had already sold the company 4 years before that to a company, Berkshire Partners, and it's been a great partnership. But there was a CEO here sort of between Michael and Dick, who didn't always share those same values, and for good or bad, it just, the company started to go a little bit differently. So when Michael was hired as the CEO, our CEO, he wanted to make sure we got back to our roots and got back to what make us great. And so his question was, what's our purpose? What are our values? Like how do I describe the culture? And the truth is, we didn't have that formalized values. So he got to work immediately. And so, but to understand sort of why that's important, we're going to go through just a few quick things. Again, this is a webinar. We're trying to teach. Some of you know these things. I'm going to ask you some questions. And so right now, I want you to throw into the chat. I want to see, when I say, what is culture, what does that mean to you? What is the culture of a company? What's the culture of a restaurant? That's where you type in the messages. There we go. I see a set of shared beliefs. I like that. Anybody else got some stuff? Nice. Shared set of values and beliefs within an organization. All right, I like that. Hi, Anna Mason. Thank you. Anybody else? The overall feeling and practices that you do every single day, a shared set of values, the heartbeat. Oh, I like that, Diane McLaughlin. Serena, nice answer. Jody, that vibe of how people interact with customers and each other. First of all, I just love the word vibe. It's a fantastic word, Jody. So yeah, I think the reason I return to work every day. Thank you, Braxton. Awesome. Yeah, so I think you guys are starting to get it. And so let's work around a couple of things. Organizational culture simply comes down to how we do things around here. Culture is unique to your organization. It determines your brand. So when you are talking about a brand like a Chick-fil-A or something, automatically culture starts to seep into that, and you start to think about the things that make up that company's culture. Always begins with a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, kind of don't have a really strong cultural base. And so a couple of things about culture, though. The way you attract and retain both your customers or guests and your team members is incredibly important. It's based on what the culture is. It's Braxton said it earlier. It's the reason I return to work every day. The reason that we get good people is because we've got a good culture and people want to come work for that. And you only get that if you've actually got a good culture and people are talking about it. So employees and teams who most align with the organization's culture consistently perform at a higher level. I think that's just science. All right. So what's the purpose, or how did we define a purpose? And it describes why we exist. So it's a little bit of what Braxton said earlier, the reason why I return to work every day. It's the heartbeat. The purpose has got to be something more than the work you do. So it's an effective purpose. I'll just read this definition to you. An effective purpose reflects the importance people attach to the company's work. It taps their idealistic motivations and gets a deeper reason for the organization existence, beyond just making money, beyond just coming in and having a job. What importance do I attach to the work that I do? And so some examples, I go back to Chick-fil-A a lot. I'm really impressed with a lot of the things Chick-fil-A does. And I don't know if there's anybody from Chick-fil-A on this list, but if you are, you're welcome for the bump there. The purpose statement for Chick-fil-A is not, it's a great place for chicken sandwiches, right? That's not, nobody gets up in the morning and goes, oh, I can't wait to go in. Now I'm going to go make chicken sandwiches. That's not the purpose for why we do what we do. Chick-fil-A's purpose is actually to glorify God by being a faithful steward to all that is entitled to us, to have positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. That's a purpose, folks. That's importance attached to what you do. They're not just making chicken sandwiches. They're on a mission from God. All right, that's a purpose when you talk about that. That's definitely attaching importance. There's a little known shipping company out there called Amazon. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's pretty new, but their purpose is not to be the best e-tailing company. Like anybody can do that. Anybody can have that as a mission for sure. But their purpose, we seek to be Earth's most guest-centric company for 4 primary guest sets: consumers, sellers, enterprises, and content creators. Did you see the word Earth in there? It's not even like we want to be internationally known. It is, we want to have total world domination. And I believe they're going for interstellar domination next. So obviously what you can see is when you start to talk about your purpose, and for those of you who don't have a purpose statement, or you do have one and you're not crazy about it as a company, and you're like, yeah, we probably should start to think about this. I want you to really start to think about what's the importance of why you do what you do. It's not just the importance of the steps. It's not just the importance of the product that you make or that. It's why do we do what we do, and why would people want to come and attach their lives to the work that we do. All right. And so then, of course, so once we did our purpose, then naturally the next step is purpose is basically, it's based on your values. And so values are the words and behaviors that define our culture. So a couple of you said it's the things that we do, it's the practices that we do, it's the things that we do. Those are all sort of based on these values. They communicate the expectations we commit to living each day. They guide our relationships with guests, with associates, with vendors, with our community, our vendor partners, just people in general, and the way and work that we live. So values, if you think about yourself, you probably live by a certain set of values. You want to be honest, and you want to do the right things, and so on and so forth. Those are your values. A company has to have those values so that every decision they make should always be based on the values. Does this meet our values? Does this meet the value of such and such? So for us, we have 4 values, and they're quick, and I'll go over them here in just a little bit. But in just using some other examples, when we worked with Gallup, is who helped us create our purpose and values, and sort of the direction and the heart of Portillo's of how we do it. They used a couple of examples for us that sort of helped us get there. And so one was, California Pizza Kitchen. They sort of had this thing called Let It Rock. And it's, in deference to our good friend Jim Knight, who was always talking about rocking, California Pizza Kitchen took that and they made it into values. And so respect, opportunity, communication, and kindness. Those all seem like really good things, right? And they define them out. I'm not going to read all those words to you. You can read those as you go. But if you make every decision based on, is it showing respect to our guests, respect to our team members, respect to our leaders? Is it giving someone opportunity? Is it opening up the lines of communication in the way that we believe we should as a company? Is it based in kindness or rooted in kindness? And so that's their sort of cultural values. There's another company called the Ritz Carlton, and I love the Ritz Carlton. Anybody who's ever stayed there, it's so nice, it's so fantastic. But I like theirs, and I'm going to read through these because I really like the wording that they use. I'm empowered to create unique, memorable, and personal experiences for our guests. Listen to the words that they use, empowered. I create work environment for teamwork so that the needs of our guests and each other are met. I own and immediately resolve guest problems. I am responsible for uncompromising levels of cleanliness and creating a safe and accident-free environment. So again, you see, I create, I am empowered, I own and immediately resolve guest problems. I am responsible for uncompromising levels of cleanliness. It's not just, I'm supposed to keep things clean. We're supposed to be a team. It is, I create that work environment of teamwork. I am responsible for. So again, those values are something, if anybody works that in that place, they know exactly what's expected of them every minute of every day. And to sort of give you an example of this, and I'm not going to show the video, but if you get a chance, I want you guys to watch Scott Stratton and The Tale of Joshi. First of all, Scott Stratton is one of the great speakers of our time. And so it's really fun to watch him talk about this message. I'm going to kind of tie it up and summarize it a little bit, but here's what happened. A family was at the Ritz Carlton on Amelie Island, and they, have a great vacation, and they go to leave, and the kid accidentally leaves a stuffed giraffe. I know it doesn't look like a giraffe, but apparently that's what it is, at the hotel. And the dad says to himself, well, I got to make up an excuse here. And so he says, Joshi stayed on for further vacation, and then he's going to fly home a little bit later. And as Scott Stratton says, that's a great idea until you've got to come up with this thing. So he calls the Ritz. They say, yep, we got him. We found him in the bedroom. He's rolled up in the covers and whatever. So they said, we're going to send him back to you. No charge. It's cool. Well, when he got the package with Josh, and of course, this father's thinking, thank God we've found this, because, Joshi not coming back from vacation the second time would have been pretty traumatic. So they send this box back, but they send the box with Joshi and then a bunch of photos and some other things in it. And so it was Joshi on his vacation, and it was Joshi at the spa. It was Joshi hanging out by the pool, getting some sun, Joshi hanging out with his friends at the local restaurant bar. And of course, to pay for all of this, Joshi got a job in loss prevention, and they even made him a name badge. And so this was the really cool part of this, right? So, and again, if you don't see that and get all, a little lump in your throat, but why I talk about this and really what Scott Stratton was talking about was, this is something that a restaurant or that the hotel is now known for. It's something that made a big difference. Why I believe it's important to this conversation, and I'm going to go back to the Ritz Values, is That was done by someone at the guest service desk and someone in housekeeping. They took that, they went to their supervisor and said, hey, we're going to send this back, but here's what we'd like to do. And of course, the supervisor said it's a great idea. So they went and took the pictures and set everything up and made the name badge and did all that stuff. And they did it because they were empowered to create a unique, memorable, and personal experience. Like, do you think that thing is ever like that kid's never going to want to go anyplace else other than the Ritz Carlton, and neither are the parents, because that experience just happened. And then other people hear about it, and that got out. There was in articles, and Scott Stratton spoke about it for years, and I speak about it all the time and show every one of our team members when we talk about guest service these important kinds of things. And so again, when you talk about values, it's important to really make sure they're ones A, you can live by, and B, you can make decisions based on. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to pause for a second. Anybody have any questions, any concerns? I don't see anything on there, so I'm going to keep moving. So can culture change over the years? It absolutely can. I mean, if you look at even Portillo's, our early days, it was just an entrepreneur trying to make something out of a hot dog stand. He even talks about the fact he didn't even really know how to make hot dogs when he first started. He just knew that the suburbs of Chicago needed a hot dog stand. And by God, he was going to put one up, and he just knew it could work. And so, the struggle was real. He was trying to make things. And so the early days was trying to get it right. Then as they had this sort of early growth, then it was sort of based on this theory of QSAC, which is quality, service, attitude, and cleanliness. And then as we kind of got on post-sale, the culture changed to one of massive growth. And then today it's kind of getting back to our roots and getting to our purpose and values and making all decisions based on that. And so how do we kind of go about doing this, sort of the process, as one of the points I promised I would do? Well, we did employ a company named Gallup, and most of you have heard that, and it's probably because you've heard of Gallup polls. But if you've not had a chance to work with Gallup, we really enjoyed that process of working with them. And it was a 5-part process. First, they collected and shared all of the Portillo's stuff they could get their hands on. Comprehensive documents and training documents, and how do we hire, and how do we develop people, and what goes on in our restaurants. And then they did interviews with our executives and team members and focus groups, and did all these cool things. And so they did 20 different interviews with 2 different focus groups of just specific people that they wanted to call in and get a flavor for. Then they did in-restaurant experiences. So they visited 10 different restaurants across the country. Then they did a Heart of Portillo's team member survey. And this was really cool. It was just an 8-minute survey, and every team member was asked to take it. And we had a 92.5% of our team members at the time took this survey. And I don't know about you, for those of you who give out surveys in your company, but 92.5% of people who said they want to have a say in our purpose and value, because we told them exactly what it was about. That's when you know already you've got a pretty good culture, right? Like those folks are excited to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they want to have a say in how we're doing. And so that was really cool for us. It was a really cool minute. And then we had these collaborative visioning sessions, and it was a diverse group of 40 team members gathered over this 2 or 3 day thing. We viewed survey results. We began writing the purpose and values, and it was one of the coolest sessions I've ever been a part of. I was lucky enough to be one of those 40 people. We had our chief people officer had just started that day, so she was part of it, and then we had a 40-year team member, Michael Portillo, of course, was part of it. Like it was everybody with all these levels and all of these different positions. And time and grade. And so what was important about that is you were getting viewpoints from everybody, no matter, we had team members, we had crew chiefs, we had managers, we had multi-unit managers, and then people from the restaurant support center and even our PFS group. And so that's our supplier group that we own. So all in all, 5,850 people had input on our purpose and values, and which was pretty much almost everybody at the time of this session. And so what I thought was really awesome about this is when we talk about the purpose and values that I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, we're literally talking about the words that our team members gave us. we're talking about, we built them from them. We didn't just get a group of executives in a room and go, oh, here's what I think our purpose is, and here's why this is one value that's really important to me. It was never about that. It was literally about, what do our restaurants say? And honestly, and what it developed into was this sort of heart of Portillo's, and that's what we call our culture. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it now. So our purpose is, at Portillo's, we relish the opportunity to create lifelong memories by igniting the senses with unrivaled food and experiences. And as you can see, we're attaching importance to that. We're creating lifelong memories, unrivaled food and experiences. And the experiences, by the way, wasn't just for our team, our guests, it was for our team members. We want to give unrivaled experiences to our team members so that they develop and grow and become better people if they work for us. And then our 4 values are family, greatness, energy, and fun. And what was really cool about that is those are actually probably 4 of my values in life: family, greatness, energy, and fun. I enjoy them all. And I don't want to brag here, but energy is actually my value. Like, that is the one that I helped name. It was going to be called sense of urgency, and I sort of talked us into, and Michael will say if I'm right. Energy was where we ended up, because I thought that actually encapsulated more than just that sense of urgency. So, I feel good about that. And to show you the purpose that I talked about was based on food. Like, if you look at, these are the exact answers people gave us in the surveys. Serve good food and create memories, provide excellent guest experiences, create a brand that's known nationally, deliver amazing experiences, provide quality food, service, and memories. Like, as you see, all of these things, we took all of those answers and synthesized them and really worked hard to come up with something that just means something to everybody. And when we rolled this out, people are like, well, of course that's our purpose. Like, there was never anybody goes, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. It was based on the words they gave us, and we got such a great reaction to this purpose. And then our values, again, family. We work together to make everyone feel at home and step up when someone needs help, which we actually created a fund based on this. Greatness, we're obsessed with being the best and work hard to continuously improve. Our greatness is rooted in quality, service, attitude, and cleanliness. A callback to our early days. That's a Dick Portillo standard piece. That's how he believes every restaurant should concentrate: quality first, then service, attitude, and cleanliness. Those are like his 4 main things for just a great restaurant. Energy, we move with urgency and passion while maintaining attention to detail. And then fun, we entertain our guests, we connect authentically and make each other smile. And anybody who knows me knows that I really love that particular value. So Michael Portillo did indeed say that is correct. So thank you, sir, for the verification. All right, so that's kind of where we're at with what are our purpose and values. Now let's talk about how we roll this out. So we had a GM summit literally right after we've finalized all of this stuff. And at that GM summit, where we have every GM member come in, is where we first rolled this out. So the first people to hear about this were our general managers, our market managers, and some folks from the restaurant support center, to make sure everybody said, yep, this is it. We're locked arm in arm, and we had no dissension. It was as if we took it right out of their heads. Thank you, Shanaira. I appreciate that. Yeah, and so we did this GM summit. So we not only did we just roll it out, but then we had breakouts of, okay, how are we taking this back and starting to talk to this in our restaurants? We gave them posters, we gave them cards, we gave them all these, like, sort of, we call them crinkle cards, because they were we have crinkle fries, and so they're these cards that are kind of like that fan kind of thing with all the stuff on there. If I had one in my office right now in front of me, would be really cool, because that would show you what I'm talking about, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. But anyway, we gave them all the tools. We gave them these hop boards and the diagrams of, this is what we wanted you to take back and put on your actual wall. There was a place for recognition, a place for what's new, pre-meal stuff to write in, celebrating our family at the bottom. And so then we also told them some things that they could put on it. So not only did we explain, what we wanted them to do with it, but we gave them actual things to put in here, like the diagrams and stuff, where to place it, what the purpose was, the size of it, talked about the recognition cards down there at the bottom. Just really trying to take the guesswork for them out of it and give them the tools they need to then go back and talk about it. And so here's just an example. This is one of the ones. And you see the recognition cards over there to the left. Those are still being used today, very, very much in play. The what's new section, new people that come in. This restaurant takes pictures of the new people that come in and they put it down there. And then of course your place for notes. And so this is our Heart of Portillo's board. You'll notice the purpose is up there. The values are up there. We talk about them constantly. And I mean constantly we talk about them. And so we did that. And then we did these Heart of Portillo's summits where me, Michael Portillo, some folks from our people department and the regional restaurant leaders got together and met with every manager, actually every crew chief and up person and every restaurant. We went and had these regional meetings where we had everybody come in, and it was every leader. And it was then talking about, here's the purpose, here's the values, here's how we talk about it, here's what we do to teach to it, here's how it looks when you operationalize it in your restaurant. And so that was an important piece for us because that happened right before this COVID. So we've just finished our last summit in February and COVID happened in March. So that's the timing I'm working with here. And what was amazing is in that moment, they got to see us actually put our values to work, because values don't mean anything unless you don't live by them. I've been with companies before, and I won't say the one name of the company and the CEO, that all he talked about was vision, values, and purpose or something like that. VVC is vision, values, and something else, culture. And we talked about it, but we didn't live it. And so nobody really bought into it. I mean, they bought into it at first, but then they started seeing us not live it. That wasn't a thing. Here, we wanted to make sure we lived it, and it was led by our CEO. So the first day of COVID, all the shutdowns start to happen. I was getting ready to go on spring break with my kids, and they're like, nope, that's not happening. And so I remember going back. I remember talking to Michael Portillo. He's like, yep, I think we need to everybody convene back in Chicago. And so we all got into a room, all the leaders of the organization. The first thing Michael Osanlu said, our CEO, was our value of family has to come into play first. So we didn't furlough a team member. We paid for the health benefits for everybody during the pandemic's peak. We at that time launched the Heart of Portillo's Fund to support our team members in need. By the way, we didn't furlough team members. That was unless they voluntarily wanted to be furloughed. And then of course we offered that if they didn't feel safe about working. And it did, it really put that through the test, Girana. And it really let us show that our values meant something to us. We purchased individual PPE, all the gears for all the team members. We literally did everything we could to make everybody as safe and as possible. And we pivoted. And I almost got sick of the word pivot, because that's what everybody did every day of COVID. And you all know, you all lived through it. But it seemed like we were changing our business model every single day. Well, when we did, we put together guides to make sure every team member knew exactly what we were doing that day or that week, differently than the week before. And so the communication piece was strong. The greatness, our strive to be better than anybody else during COVID was huge. And our restaurants did fantastic. And if you've ever been through a Portillo's drive-through, we were doing the double line and the runners and the order takers before anybody else, and sort of pioneered that. Again, Dick was a pioneer in a lot of things, and that was one of the things that he had pioneered. And I know Chick-fil-A is doing it now as well, and they do a great job of it too. But we were we were the first, so that's all I'm saying. But as you can see, we extended our on-shift employee meal discount to 100%. We sent out gift cards. We did everything we could to make the team members feel like they were part of family. We added on premium holiday pay. We gave crew chief bonuses, which we'd never done before. We added in what we call a Frank's a Lot fund. We're big on puns here. So Frank's a Lot is thanks a lot. And it's a fund for every restaurant just to do cool things for their team members and have little parties if they need to, or bring in food and whatever. And every restaurant gets an allotment of this for each month. So, but more importantly, during all of that, we also figured out, okay, it's great to show these because this is COVID, it's an emergency, but how are we going to talk about these things and how are we going to bring them to life during our everyday workload? And so we have these leadership traits that we based on our values. And so build relationships, develop people, inspire others, think critically, communicate clearly, create accountability, and lead change. Those are all based on our values. Those are all based on what we do here. And we had, Gallup has helped us create these because these are a lot of the things that they do. But then they said, okay, now you've got to take these and you've got to operationalize them. And so how does family fit into build relationships clearly, develop people clearly, inspire others is greatness in family, think critically is greatness and energy, communicate clearly is greatness, family. You could see the create accountability and lead change. And so it was important for us to not just talk about our values as some sort of nebulous thing and like, oh yeah, these are really cool. And it's like the stones were handed down from the heavens or whatever. How do you use it? How do you work with it? And so these leadership traits now are based on our values, which is of course always going to support our purpose. And we talk about it constantly. Anytime you hear Michael Osanlu talk in public or talk to our team members, especially, he'll mention the values constantly. He'll talk about creating lifelong memories and an unrivaled sense of our unrivaled food and experiences. We named our leadership development program the Ignite program based off of this. And so you'll see some of that here in a few minutes. How big is my L&D team? When we were rolling this out, we had 3 people in there because we got sort of cherry picked by operations, and so we had 3. I have a much bigger team now. I have about 6 people in my team now. So thank you for asking, Ms. Serena. But at the time, we did not have a very big L&D team. I think that's yep. Let's go to the next slide. And so again, doing the right things for our people is, how do you take those values and how do you show things? So what were some things that we've done? So we've raised over $800,000 in our Heart of Portillo's Team Member Assisted Fund. And that is a fund strictly funded by us as a company to give to our team members, to any leaders who need it. We have a committee. It is an actual charitable fund that we had to create. We had to file some form with a lot of numbers and letters, some 503 something or other, and anybody needs that, they can email me and I'll tell you what it is. But we've raised so far over $800,000. We've given about a third of that away so far, and just people needing things through COVID, through hard times. We pay for a lot of funerals, unfortunately, but a lot of things that come up that team members just simply cannot do for themselves. Question just came in: did it take a long time to roll this out? I imagine in general it would, but through COVID might have definitely made it harder. Well, we were lucky to have the GM Summit and the leadership summits within a 5-month period, 4 to 5 month period right before COVID hit. And so the fund we did during COVID, it takes as long as what normally would be to set up a fund and file the documents. And so what you have to do there is you have to talk about what your charter is, the purpose, you have to set up a board, and then you have to file the documents to do that. So whatever that normal time would take, even during COVID, it didn't take us that much time to do. And we've just been consistently adding things to it as we go along. So we've been in this process now. Well, COVID happened, we're what, year 3 of that. So yeah, it's taken us a bit to get it all fully in place, but I feel like that first year was super important to get most of the groundwork put in. So great question. Yeah, so enhance the suite of benefits. We added in LinkedIn Learning, we've added in wellness pieces with more personal time off. We did this thing called Frost for the Fun, which was actually really cool. It was a cake frosting competition. So we used to do a 5K for the fund. It was a run for the fund. And then this year we went completely opposite of that and went Frost for the Fun. So we went, sure, we were running and exercising. Now we're just gonna frost cakes and enjoy ourselves getting larger, eating our cakes. Because if you've ever had our cakes, they're really good. Anyway, we did this fundraising thing with Frost for the Fun and raised a crap ton of money. So every year we try to do something fun, something that includes the restaurants because they want to help raise money for their own folks. So it's been pretty amazing. Some other things that we've done, added shift leaders to our management bonuses to pay for performance. We launched a leadership program. And our leadership program, the Ignite program, I could probably do an entire breakout on that and probably should talk to Tara about that, because what we do is develop people before a position's open. So our crew chiefs now go through what's called Ignite Crew Chief, and it's people who are team members who want to be crew chiefs, go through a leadership program, and then when there's an open position, they get moved in. And it's the same for every level. We've got an Ignite restaurant manager, Ignite AGM, Ignite GM, that kind of thing. So it really is. And to make sure that we're being fair of how we get people in, we actually have every quarter, every restaurant is invited to it's a sort of a here's what our future is kind of thing. It's really fantastic. And so they go each market manager picks one of their restaurants, and everybody kind of comes to it who wants to. And it's really just about what are our leadership opportunities? How do you get in the programs? How do you apply? What can you be with Portillo's? And so it kind of stopped that whole tap on the shoulder. You know, managers used to be like, I think this person would be a really great crew chief. So they kind of tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, you want to be trained to be a crew chief? And now it's people are finding out there's opportunity. They're seeing that there's opportunity for them, and then they're applying. And it's, I have to say, it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever worked on. Is this leadership program. I feel like it will be my legacy here at Portillo's, because it's the comments we get from people saying, I never knew anybody believed in me, or nobody's ever given me a chance before. I was, I just always thought I was going to be a team member. I was always going to be making beef sandwiches for the rest of my life. And now you're developing me for the next level. And so it's been pretty amazing. I get a little choked up when I talk about it. So anyway, lots of cool stuff that we've been doing here, but you said, okay, well, that's great. Has it helped you? Yeah, Portillo's increased engagement in a year of national decline. We took another engagement survey last year. We increased our engagement. We increased engagement in critical roles. All of our restaurant leadership positions, including shift leads, engagement was up. And they're especially up even higher in the people who were going through the Ignite program. Those engagement scores were off the charts. Market manager and restaurant support center was in the top quartile. So Portillo's is in red, and you see the national average there according to Gallup. We're doing okay. Those are pretty good numbers. The number one ranked restaurant company in 2021 best mid-sized employers. So 99 out of 500 total, but we were the top restaurant in all of that. So we were really proud. We're really starting to get noticed for some of these things. And when you're a company like us, we've got 72 restaurants and another 4 that are getting ready to open, but it's concentrated a lot in Chicago, a couple in Florida, and we're growing in Florida. We've got 1 in Michigan. We've got 2 in California. We've got 4 or 5 now in Arizona, getting ready to open up 2 more. We're just going into Texas, which is really cool. So we're getting ready to open our first one in Texas here in a couple of weeks. We're excited about all the growth, but a lot of people still don't know us. And so it's really heartwarming and good to see when you can still get ranked on these things and you can still get noticed for those sorts of things. And so kind of exciting stuff. We like to love our team members. And so what we always talk about is the value proposition that we offer. It's an experience like no other. It's a different restaurant company. I know everybody says we're different. Portillo's, if anybody has ever been at a Portillo's, and you can throw some messages in there if you want to, the amount of volume that we do in that restaurant in a day is sometimes what other restaurant companies will do in a week. It just simply is. Our drive-thrus are constantly busy, our lines in there, and we get people through fast, and it's an experience, and we rhyme when their orders are ready. And I know Braxton wants us to come to New York City. I'm sorry. But we did take our beef bus to New York City when we went public, which I'll show you here in just a few minutes. It was an amazing experience. So we do think there's a place in New York, but it's going to be a ways away. Anna, don't worry, Nashville, we're talking. We got enough people now who live in Nashville and work in Chicago who we're working on. But again, competitive pay and benefits. We always try to stay ahead of the curve on that. We do fundraisers for our community. We do food donations. We do a lot of things within our communities, not just for our Heart of Portillo's Fund, but for folks on the outside. So, and then one of the most incredible things to me was a company during COVID, and we went public. So that's all of us in New York City going public. It was the most surreal experience I've ever had. All these buildings with Portillo's up on them. We had our beef buses. You can see kind of behind us, that's the beef bus. in the middle. You could barely see my nose in that picture, but I was there, I promise. That's my eyeball and nose in the very, very back there, right in the middle. But it was an amazing experience, but it really does go to show you, when you live your purpose and values, when you constantly preach them and do them and live up to them, some really great things can happen. That's the return on investment. And I'm not saying you're going to go public when you do this. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But if you develop them based on your people, based on what they say, based on what they believe, and then you show every day that you live those and you make decisions by them, good things will happen for your company. I've seen it happen enough times in different restaurant companies, and I'm sure everyone here can give me an example of experiences like that. And so I want to say thank you for allowing me to talk with you guys today. And of course, I'm going to now open it up for some questions. And I got it in 43 minutes, 2 minutes back. You're welcome. Tara, did we have any questions up there?
Excellent. There were 2 questions that came in on the side, and I don't think you've answered them yet, but they are, the first one was, if I don't have them now, but can't hire a company like Gallup, where can I start?
Yeah, so it's a great question. A lot of people are like, well, I can't afford Gallup. I don't have that in my budget. That's okay. I kind of just gave you and I'll send this deck out if you guys would like, once I get approval from public relations, but I'll send at least some of these things out to you. I just gave you a structure for how you can do it yourself. You don't need a Gallup to come in, but get a cross-functional group of people from every level and allow them to talk to each other, to gather all your training materials, to gather everything you have, do surveys. There's all kinds of, SurveyMonkey, any of those. Develop an actual survey that really asks and gets to the heart of the things that you want to be and do, and then allow them to do that, and then formulate that. Have a cross-functional team, again, both field and support center, that helps develop them, cultivated from the results, and then roll it out in a way that people understand. You're going to have to. It's a big thing to do this, and so the old adage of how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Roll it out to your general managers first, get them to understand it, get them to believe in it, and then let them sort of help you roll it to the restaurants, and then do that as you can go down. So hopefully that helps. I'm always here if you need to, but if you want an outside company, I do this with companies in many industries. All right. Thank you, Ms. Marna. So obviously you can message Ms. Marna and we can get some help there as well. So yes.
Okay. The last question I have is, what was the biggest surprise for you during the process?
I think it was how much the team members bought in so quickly. Because we are an older company, we've got people who've been around 40, 45 years, and sometimes moving the needle with those folks is a little hard. But for us, they were almost the drivers of this. And I think it's because it was really based on a lot of what Dick Portillo always talked about anyway. So a lot of these folks who've been around for a long time, we're like, yeah, of course that's our values, and of course I'll talk about it, and of course I'll help teach it, and so on and so forth. So I think that was something that was a big surprise to me, but it was really a pleasant surprise in that. I got a question on the thing, says, could you have a webinar about your leadership program? Yeah, I'll talk to Tara and see if I can get back on the schedule for talking about our Ignite program.
I'll answer that right now. Sure. Or you can present it at a chart conference.
Yeah, hey, there you go. I'm up for it. Any other questions?
I think that's it. And if anyone has any other questions, you can email John directly, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them for you.
That is exactly right. That's J, the letter J, Isbell at portillos.com.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. We'll have this up on the website by the end of the day if you would like to share it with anyone that may have missed it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. All nice comments, and you guys are welcome, and loved it. Love being back to talk to you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.